Today we're going to talk about the second Exodus and what it means specifically. Um, Let me give you a little brief rundown, really quick, about Egypt. We know that in the Bible that the children of Yasharel was delivered from Egypt by the hand of the Most High Yah by using Moses, right? So back then, in the days of Egypt, we know that that place was a paganism um, and polytheism place, right? They worshiped different gods. They had many different cultures and aspects of life. You were basically free to worship and do whatever it is that you please and believe in whichever false god that you may believe in, right? So remember that's how Egypt was in the Bible. Now, here we are still in Egypt. This is a different type of captivity. It's not a physical enslavement because these days we aren't physically enslaved. We are mentally and spiritually enslaved, at least some of us, right? So I just want to run through some brief points just to give you guys some clarity on exactly what do I mean by the second Exodus in Egypt. All right, so let's start from here. Religion. Um, if you read the books in the Old Testament or ancient texts that weren't included in the King James Bible, religion was never the Most High plan for his creation. Religion is based off the notion that if you join a group, you are getting close to the Most High. However, the Most High has always been close to his people before religion. In fact, we see it throughout the Old Testament, there in his presence, and heard from him without the construct of religion. Now, again, that's just me making a point that before there were any religions, before there were any temples, before anything of anything was built, the Most High always communicated with his creation right then and there. And we can see an example of that throughout Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, Adam, and Eve. We can see it since the beginning of time. He always had a connection and was always close with his creation. So we have to remember that he is omnipresent, he is omnipotent. That means he sees everything and he knows everything and he is everywhere, right? So you don't have to be caught up in a religion to believe that that is a way to speak to the Most High, regardless of whatever religion it might be, because there are many religions that were created, and all of them believe that they are the right way to the Most High, and a lot of them believe they are the right way, meaning you can have the thought of, okay, my religion is the right way, but when you think that you are the greatest or better religion, in sense that you in fact can get closer to the Most High, and all other religions are wrong. That's what I mean by that statement. Okay, and there are a couple of religions who are actually like that and believe that they are the way to the Most High. You know, there's no doubt about it. They will practically kill for it if you even detest them on their beliefs and their religion and how false it actually is. So again, I'm just giving you guys some clarity and I'm painting a clear picture so you can understand why religion was not created by the Most High, and that is the second Exodus we have to come out of mentally and spiritually. Okay, so let's continue. False idols. America tells people it's the land of the free, free to worship anything, everything, and do as you please. That is your right. The same way Egypt worshipped anything, everything, and did as they pleased in worshiping false idols, gods, demons, fallen angels. The only difference is there aren't sacrifices being made in public to frighten the public, meaning people. So I'm not saying that there aren't any sacrifices being made. I'm just saying that they're not being made in the public. Because again, back then they made those sacrifices publicly, whether they were sacrificing animals, whether they were sacrificing peoples, whether they were throwing babies in the fire, whether they were worshiping the false god of Molech, which is the Canaanite god, you know, and giving their children to him and burning them alive. So again, we see throughout history, that idolatry was the biggest issue when it came to the chosen people of Yasharel. When the Most High called us out of Egypt, we see that idolatry was the biggest issue. Now, again, he didn't care too much about other nations in the sense of they were going to do what they were going to do because he didn't instruct them. He didn't call those other nations. He didn't call those other religions, those people who worship um, idols, who are in paganism and polytheism. That means just worshiping many different gods. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't call those people. He called the people, the children of Yasharel, the entire tribe of Yasharel, who you guys will call Israel, but I don't want to get too deep into that. So that's who he called. You know what I'm saying? The children of Jacob. All 12 tribes. That's who he called. So he didn't want them to worship any false gods, no other god except him. And he made it clear in his commandments, right? And he went even further on telling us how not to do it. Don't create no stone, don't create no graven images, don't worship gold, don't worship any physical things, don't worship the creation and not the creator. That's what he told us strictly. But we have to continue again and to see that the children of Yasharel was obviously disobedient, because now we're still here in Egypt, but mentally and spiritually in captivity, right? So that's the next topic: captivity spiritually. Although they say it's the land of the free and every religion is welcomed, it is true. However, these religions have pagan foundations and worship false idols, gods, demons, fallen angels. This is idolatry, and many are not in covenant with the Most High Yah, the creator of all. The disobedience, Hashatan, who the world calls Satan, has led the nations astray into believing all religions leads to the Most High, or that one's own religion is the way to the truth more than others. Hence, the one world religion takeover, New World Order, leading everyone into spiritual captivity, bound by the teachings of men. Religion is a man-made construct that was never created by the Most High Yah, or a way to communicate with him. Now, I know many people want to say, well, they built a temple in Israel. Yes, they did build a temple, but understand, they didn't create it to a place where it has become a religious practice. It was never supposed to become a religious practice where you're attending Sundays, which is a Sunday, which is the worship of a false deity, Wednesdays, Fridays, and things like that. They turned it into a religious practice where now you do all these practices believing that you're getting closer to the Most High, paying tithes, when paying tithes was never a thing about money. However, I wrote about that in a previous blog. You guys can go check it out. So it was never supposed to become a religious practice, but man has created this religion where now, with strict rules and teachings and traditions of them, not of the Most High, but of them, due to their misinterpretation of the text and when it was written, how it was written, and for who it was written, they misconstrued it and turned it into religion, and still put burdens on people, still crushing people when we were supposed to be free, right? Because if you go into the book of Acts, it talks about that the Most High Yah does not dwell in the temples that was made by the hands of men. He does not dwell there. And you have to understand that he doesn't. He's the creator of the entire universe, the entire earth. He is everywhere and anywhere. You can be one and in tune with him anywhere. You do not have to sit in these religious pews every single day listening to a a false teacher tell you what the Most High has said, when you can actually communicate with him and talk to him, and he can speak to you directly. But again, they made this a spiritual practice. This is why a lot of people is caught up in idolatry and worshiping these false teachers that are in these religions, these big world religions, right? So let's go into the next topic, point: idolatry, the worship of idols. Well, I'm going over this with you guys again because I want you to understand and see how much of the world is actually caught up in idolatry. Worshiping man. Oh, that's my pastor. Oh, that's my teacher. Oh, that's my pope. Oh, that's my president. Oh, that's my. You know what I'm saying? When in reality, we only have one teacher, and that is the Most High. We only have one teacher, and that itself is even scriptural. We only have one teacher, and the set apart spirit is the one that will teach us all things. And that's even scripture itself in the New Testament, where the Messiah has told us that, right? We don't need man to teach us because the set apart spirit will teach us all things. So who are you going to believe, man or the Messiah? Who is greater to you? And if you find out that the man is greater to you, then you are stuck in idolatry. You are worried about the thoughts of others and what they think of you if you speak against them and their false teachings. And the Most High even said in the Old Testament as well, when he said that he would make a renewed covenant where you do not have to go to any man saying, "Know Yah," because all will know him. And that's in Jeremiah as well. That's talking about the new covenant. He stated that many times, right? Okay, so let's go to spiritual adultery. Now, what is spiritual adultery? Now, we always know that um, in the Old Testament, they used the word whoredom, right? Even a couple times in the New Testament as well. So, whoredom is a characteristic of what people do. It's having many different lovers, but never fully committing to one. That is what people do to the Most High Yah. You worship every other thing except fully worshiping the one who created you. You run to every other religion, every other belief, every other man, every other false god, demon, or false fallen angel, worshiping, falling to your knees, praying to. But here, you don't commit to the Most High. That is considered spiritual adultery. It's just having many different lovers, but never fully committing to one. That means you're all over the place. Your belief is not on the straight and narrow path. It is going every which way and direction, meaning you're being led astray mentally. What does it say about a double mind? It means that you're unstable in all your ways, right? So you're being led astray mentally. And this is what I said. It's a mental and spiritual captivity now, with the illusion of freedom, but you're really not free. Now, let's go to the material world, right? It says material world. The Gentiles focus on material things. The chosen people of Yasharel should not be concerned with the ways of the world or the materialistic parts of it. People focus is on money and how to gain more of it. But the Most High did not teach us those ways. The other nations did. Ancient times, in the ancient times. Sorry, as you can tell, this is my drafted notes. I did not fully correct everything. I just wanted to get my points across and get them out so that I don't forget them. So yeah, back in ancient times, this is what the other nations focused on, was materials, wealth, and power. Materials don't mean that you're wealthy. Wealth don't mean that you're wealthy. And power, gained by fear, lying, and manipulation, don't mean you have power. Um, Why do I say this? Because focusing on materials, gaining wealth, rather than a relationship with the Most High was not meant to happen. But Hashatan, the God of this world, made it a thing, a distraction for the chosen people of the Most High, who has always followed after other nations, even when being told not to. This is the results of disobedience, of our disobedience. Captivity, again, rather than physical, it's mental and spiritually. It means you're broken, poor, and empty inside. So that's when I say it means that you're broken, poor, and empty inside. That is for people who crave power. That is for religions who crave power. And they use it by fear, lying, and manipulation. So that means that they're broken, poor, and empty inside. They have no real power. They don't have no real influence. They gain all of that by fear, lying, and manipulation, right? They have a lot of materials, but it don't mean that they're wealthy. And they have a lot of money, a lot of wealth. It still don't mean that they're wealthy. It only means that they focus on the worldly things, and this is what is being taught to many people. Is you focusing on money, you focusing on material things, you focusing on power, right? You finding validation in all of these things, except what the Most High says about you. Except what the Most High says about you. Because you, again, this is why we're still here in captivity. It's because our focus is not on the Most High. The center of our life is not on the Most High. We're focused on every other thing that the other nations is focused on. That's scripture too. Didn't the Messiah said that, when it comes to asking for things, but not to focus on the material things and things like that, because that's what the Gentiles focus on. And the Gentiles is always reference to the other nations, right? So again, we supposed to make the Most High the center. That's the only way that we'll be delivered. And a lot of us is waking up and being delivered from religion. We're having our second Exodus now. America is just Egypt. America is Egypt. And you have to see that, because a lot of people will look geographically and say, oh, America isn't in Egypt. No, America is Egypt. Look at its ways. Look at its foundations, what it teaches you. See the perversion in it. See the false idols in it. Now, again, it was never supposed to be about going to these church buildings every single Sunday, worshiping a false deity. That is religion. The first church, the first Christian church, came through Rome. The Roman Catholic Church is an actual Christian religion when you look at its foundation and its beliefs. And the first church was created back then in Rome. And then it became a very powerful dynasty, a religious construct created by man. We were never supposed to be in captivity again, but because of our disobedience, our ancestors' disobedience, we were led into captivity again. And now, even when you pay attention to the curses in the Old Testament, it states what will happen if we disobey the Most High. It says that we will worship other false gods, right? It says that we will actually fall into these things as the other nations are. We will fall into paganism. We will fall into perversion, perverting the truth. And that's what a lot of these big Christian churches do. These mega pastors do now. They pervert the truth because they don't understand it. They never even bothered to understand it. And some of them don't care to understand it because it's feeding their pockets. It's feeding their belly. They've been given over to the lust of the flesh. So they're going to do according to the lust of the flesh. They're going to speak like the world. They're going to sound like the world. And guess what? The world is going to listen. So I'm telling you, this is the second Exodus. You have to come out of religion. And I'm talking about all religions. I'm not talking about just Christianity within itself, because Christianity has a lot of branches. Don't think for a second that it doesn't. It has a lot of denominations, and those are based off of false teachings. And you have other world religions such as Hinduism, which is in polytheism. They worship a lot of different gods. You could pick whichever one out of their thousand and just do whatever you want. Buddhism is just a worship of a fat guy, of a statue that was created by a man, and they worship it. So I don't even understand that. But you see the delusion that they were handed over to those things. Because how can you worship something that you created by hand? That was the problem with Abraham and his father. His father was caught up in idolatry, paganism. That's why the Most High told him to leave his father's house. When you really read the story, do your research outside the Bible and read the story, that's why Abraham had to leave. So a lot of these religions are based off of false teachings. Even Islam. You go back to the roots of Islam, the Catholic Church started a lot of these religions, and a lot of these religions don't even know that. Islam is the same way. They idolize the Farrakhan's, the Muhammad. They never say the Most High says this, the Most High says that. No. They always say the honorable such and such, whoever is leading their masses at that time. And they base their whole belief system off of a guy, off of a man who died and has not risen. A lot of these religions base their belief off of men who died and have not risen, who the Most High have not called. But again, this is all according to the working of Hashatan, who the world calls Satan. Because a lot of people have been given over to this delusion, over to this belief, because they chose not to believe in the truth. So the Most High just let them do exactly what it is that they want to do and be led by their ignorance and their disobedience. That is the great delusion, is the religion. And once the Most High has come and delivered you from this delusion, because you were honestly making a sincere mistake that you didn't even know, when He delivers you from it, you must not go back. You must not get caught up in it, because you will share the punishment that these other religions and nations are about to suffer. So you want to come out of it. You don't want to be caught up in idolatry. And again, most of these religions, all of these religions, are based off of paganism, polytheism. They chosen false gods. They just switched their names over time, because the language was changed over time, and that's what they did. So the roots and the base is always paganism, polytheism. It's never a true belief in the Most High. And again, this is for the people of Yasharel, the chosen. You must come out of this thing. Come out of Babylon. Babylon is a whore. She sleeps in bed with many different nations, many different religions, many different beliefs, many different false gods, but she will never worship the Most High. She will appear righteous, but she isn't. She's a whore. Babylon. This is what we are in. Babylon. I hope I gave much as context as I possibly can when it comes to the second Exodus and what it's about, and understanding that America is Egypt. So I pray to the Most High that you gain understanding, wisdom, and insight and clarity, and that you will seek Him with your whole heart, your mind, and your soul. Shalom.